They say all men are created equal. Shot! Master! I'll pull out the Glock! Full of suffering, succotash, son!
One of you nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast. My apologies for being absent last week, but thank you, Estelle, for doing a great job as always on your own. Loved listening back. Thought it was brilliant, and I think it was an interesting Dynamite. And I think this week was really interesting as well. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it and talking about it. So yeah, we're back with a Dynamite review. So yeah, what do you think?
I had so much fun. Like, it was just so fun from start to finish. I feel like all the Dynamites since the new year have been great. Like I
Yeah.
said last week to you, because we had a little discussion about it, over text, that there wasn't really like any big wrestling matches. This one had at least like a bit more wrestling to it and a bit more like in-ring promo rather than just all being video packages. But I'm having a bloody great time, honestly, from start to finish. Just wow, and I was just genuinely excited to talk about it and
Yeah,
like
me
get your
too.
thoughts. And you don't get that every week, like being real.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so good when you're sitting there thinking, oh, I want to talk about this, and we're going to get into this sort of thing. Yeah, it's really good. And also, I just want to say I totally agree with you rating last week. Um, it's like, we're on the same wavelength. We share a brain cell. I was just like, yeah, totally agree. Was it 7.5 or 8?
Yeah, I rounded it up to an 8 for Samoa Joe.
That's
7.5
it.
felt
Yeah,
really harsh.
yeah, that's it. And I was like, yeah, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, we'll see where we end up with this one. But shall we start from the beginning?
Yeah, I think this one was actually, I mean, we'll get to it when we do the rating, but I think it might be my favourite so far this year. But yeah, let's jump into this. So we began with Will Ospreay. He was in the ring with Tony Schiavone, and Kenny came out, and this was said that it was at the behest of Ospreay that he wanted to sort of arrange this meeting, as it were. He says he's been trying to make a change and that he's had the Callis family on his back. He explained the Death Rider sitch and he needs Kenny's help, and he's really earnest. He's really humble. He is our golden baby face. And I was shocked at Kenny's response, but pleasantly shocked. When he brings up the match of Forbidden Door, he doesn't forget so easily. And at Forbidden Door, the whole premise was I'm better than you. And he was part of the Callis family then. He even
Yeah.
used the screwdriver on him. And he's like, you can now go back to being number 2. And I just was not expecting this, because how often in wrestling do people just come back and form just alliances and forget about blood feuds and forget about all their history? And I liked how at the end they did form a union and kind of make amends, but that at the start he wasn't so quick to just be, because it would be such lazy writing. But I wouldn't have been shocked if he was like, oh yeah, of course, like we both hate the Callis family, yeah, why not? Because
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm accustomed to in wrestling, and this was just more intelligent, and I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's very wrestling, like you say, and we've talked about it before. Like, well, it's not the same, but similar Survivor Series dementia. Like,
It is similar.
there's like short-term, long-term memory loss, it seems. But yeah, this was really good. I loved it. You mentioned it, but what he said was so savage. Some words to this effect: it took diverticulitis to almost kill me for people to remember you existed. Congratulations for being number 2. I was like, oh, that's a sick burn. I loved that. I loved that so much. And then he said, I'll never trust someone like you. Um, um, so yeah, I mean, it, Kenny started off very savage and very with an attitude, as he should. But then, yeah, we did a full 180 on this. So we had the huge brawl with the Callis family, which was sort of like bloody stadium stampede type thing, all over the shop. Um,
The shop.
and it was such a huge brawl. It was so chaotic that the camera kept on missing important things. as well. So it was sort of difficult to keep up with. That's not really a criticism, but like I'm not saying the cameraman was terrible because I know how hard that job is. I'm just saying just because it was so chaotic. And they were both bloody Spider-Man in themselves off scaffolding and stuff. I was like, Kenny, you need to stop this. What is he doing? Like just launching
Sh
himself off things.
Shout out to Spider-Man 2 with the cell. Um, but yeah, I loved Kenny in this because before I was saying I want Kenny to come back and be the best bout machine. I don't want him to be humble, but I had that fear that he would be. I want him to come back with hunger, and he had so much hunger, not in just the promo, but in the whole sequence and the adrenaline that you could see that was coursing through him. And I'm not happy that he went through diverticulitis and he went through that year off, but I feel like he really was at breaking point of like I'm either going to have to retire or I'm going to really have to get my shit together. Going to have to quite literally, what a good pun. I'm going to have to get my surgeries, and I'm going to have to train, have more surgeries. If I want this, I'm going to have to put my body and my mind through torture. And it's so easy for us to brush it off like, oh, he's just been out for a year. But this man has been through hell, and he is hardened from that, and he is hungry. And I'm not saying it's a good thing that it happened, but I feel like it's really reinvigorated his spark and his love for wrestling in a
Yeah.
way before that maybe he was a bit more, I want to say, passive towards it and just happy. And I'm not anti that philosophy. The books obviously that's kind of their philosophy, and is it best for business? Maybe not, but I have a lot of respect for it, like doing what you love and being humble. But when you are that fucking good and the people love you so much, and how loud the crowd were,
Yes.
hell yeah, like you should be carrying yourself like that. And I feel like he kind of forgot that over the years, and I hope that he doesn't again, and that this run to his retirement, which I assume it will be, that we get this prime version of Kenny.
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right because you can just feel the passion and I know what you mean. Like it's not a good obviously it's not a good thing that this happened, but sometimes I think a step back from the ring can be a blessing in disguise for some wrestlers because it gives them that opportunity to reflect and come back stronger and maybe have that distance and that time frame to gain clarity and just think, okay, what direction do I want to take this character in? How do I want to wrestle? How much does this actually mean to me? And you can turn a shit situation into a good one. And I'm really glad that he's come back with this level of energy. Yeah, it's great to see. I will say though, I mean, yeah, the full 180 on his attitude, like he literally said, I will never trust someone like you, to then I should have trusted you all along in the space
Well,
of
come on.
7 minutes.
They did that huge dive off the scaffolding. That Bonza man. That Bonza brother. But I was kind of worried as well. Like another concern was like, oh, I I don't want him to get wrapped up in like the Callis family stuff, and if he does, I want it to be with Takeshita, and I want it to be in a certain way. And I'm really glad that they're doing it in the specific way. I mean, yeah, I love when he's like, I'm never going to trust you, and then he like storms off, and then Takeshita instantly out, and I popped so hard. I was like, yes, this is what we want. And the brawl was insane, and it went on for so long. It really did feel like the show was like, I don't know, it was like coming undone. We had that great suplex to Archer through the merch table, just
That was
bodies
insane.
everywhere. Yeah, and I didn't hate Archer and Cage during this. I feel like, yeah,
It's high praise. I didn't hate him.
yeah, yeah, like, I didn't hate them. Um, and just the insanity of uh, whatever the hell that move was, whatever the hell that flip or rotation was, whether it's a shooting star, I don't know what the hell it was, but it just from that height, it was insane. It was absolute insanity. Like, and then later he's like, "I've got a fear of heights." Like, what
Yeah,
the hell, man?
he's so real for that. But like I said,
He
what are you
is.
doing? You don't need to be defying gravity, my dude. We can stay on the ground and still be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just a wrestling thing, though, in it. Like, he has to kind of forgive Ospreay at some point. And so I do get it, like it was within 7 minutes, but at least it was something. Because like my expectations for wrestling, it's like on the ground of like you said, it's just total amnesia. But yeah, I said that they're going to restore the feeling at Grand Slam. We're going to get these two versus Fletcher and Takeshita.
That's gonna bang.
Again, like I said, yeah, it's going to absolutely bang. And um that feud with Fletcher and Ospreay still coming along nicely. I gotta say, this whole episode of Dynamite, I'm so into so many stories and so many feuds. I'm really looking forward to Grand Slam and also Revolution.
Mhm,
And it's not just at the top of the card, which it used to be. And
mhm.
things that aren't just about titles. Like obviously titles are important and we want to win the gold. But I love stuff like this that's just it's just for character
Yeah.
development and the morality and the moral compass of the characters. So especially it's so easy to forget
Yeah.
how weak the stories were a few years ago and people are like, I miss old Dynamite and it's just like yeah, but people look through that such rose tinted
I was
glasses
just about to
because
say the
it was
same
a
thing.
super indies. Yeah,
I was literally
they
going to
didn't
say
have these
the
stories.
exact same thing. It's rose-tinted glasses. It's nostalgia. Um, but yeah, and you make a really good point when you mention like it's not. This isn't about championship, and I didn't even, that didn't even cross my mind. But when you said it, it's just yeah, that rings really true. That this feels like probably the biggest story. I mean, obviously apart from the Death Riders, but this is maybe the most exciting one at the moment because it's so fresh, and everyone's really excited to see Kenny, and it doesn't. There's no championships involved, and it doesn't need it. So yeah, and also like this tag team match at Grand Slam, it's in Australia. The crowd's going to be really hot for Kyle Fletcher, so that's going to be awesome. We've got
Yeah.
the potential to set up some really great singles matches from it on Dynamite. Omega versus Takeshita at some point, maybe. Maybe we'll do Omega versus Ospreay. Perhaps. There's so many different ways you can go with this, and yeah, I wasn't. It did make me laugh the way he just shifted up his attitude completely. Like, did he have to say, I should have trusted you all along? Or could he just said something like, well, maybe I don't trust you, but we've got to put these fuckers down, or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm not like trying to pick holes for the sake of picking holes. It's just a little
No.
something. It's not a big deal.
Have you ever like seen variations of anime though? Because it felt very anime-esque in like it's real. I know the man loves a bit of fighter games and he likes a bit of the animes. It was giving
He's a
like
nerd.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventures of it was like a 20-minute anime episode of like I don't like even when like his pose at the start he's like I'll never trust you and then at the end he was like I should have trusted you all along.
That is
It was very
so
anime.
true. That is so
That's
true.
how I choose to the lens I choose to look at it through.
That is a great way to look at it. And you reminded me of something I wanted to say right at the start. The camera angle when Kenny was like he was thinking and like he moved to walk away from Osprey and like he was in the foreground and Osprey and Shivani were like in the background and he was like really, really anguished over this. He was like, I'll never trust someone like you. And it was very dramatic. And I can
Such a
just
nerd. I love it.
someone needs to make like if there's an artist out there, they need to like an anime artist, manga artist, turn this into a frame from anime because that yeah, you spot on. That was so
Yeah.
anime.
Like when I used to well, as I said, what made me a wrestling fan was the comic strip of Undertaker versus HBK. They need like a manga strip of this
Yeah, yeah.
with
We
like
should
stupid
commission someone.
superpowers. Yeah,
Commission
that'd
someone to
be
do
that'd
that.
be great. But I just want to lament before we move on the insanity of that move. I can't get over it. And it really was exciting, and it really felt like both guys are laying their bodies on the line for the company, their their passion. And
Yeah.
to me, it felt like we're doing this because we want to get a viral moment, and I respect
Mm.
that like a lot. Like they know that's going to make the rounds on Twitter, on social media, and that they want to fight for the company and have that passion. And what an asset Ospreay is, not only as a wrestler, but the way he speaks of AW, and he hasn't always had the best media presence, uh, but I think he really understands in terms of like marketing. Like he always comes across and he always sings the praise of AW like in interviews, and he always puts things over. And I just think he's just such a well-rounded, great baby face and person to have on their roster, not only as a wrestler but just outside the ring. And I don't know if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's
it
that's
does
that's
make
the type of person you want on your roster.
He's a very passionate person,
Yeah.
and I think he feels really strongly. So, like, if he truly feels that Tony Khan is a good boss and he loves working for AW, that's going to come across. And I think that's just his personality. And yeah, that's a great person to have on board. Equally, I feel like if things started to go wrong, he'd probably be vocal about it too. But who knows?
Yeah.
You know, when if you treating someone like that right and you paying him enough and he's in the matches he wants to be in and he's happy, then he's a really big asset. Where have you gone?
Yeah. I just punched my laptop randomly. I don't know why. Yeah, I think he has a great deal of loyalty. Like even when he was with
Yeah,
New Japan, like how he was there, um, how long he was there, and even going out wanting to end on good terms with the company and putting people over. I just yeah, I just have respect for him like
yeah,
as a performer. But yes, it's just a really exciting way to start the show. And you know, Dynamite it usually begins with like a really exciting wrestling match, and this to me was on par with that. Like it was on. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
yeah,
all the people that came out, and it was a physical brawl. It wasn't
yeah.
for
It was.
sure. It wasn't pull apart. It was some wrestling. It was good.
Yeah, it was,
Like
and
you
it
say,
was.
Stadium Stampede.
Yeah, and it was unexpected as well. I,
Mm.
you know, I didn't expect it in maybe into a little bit of a brawl, but not into the scale that it was. Um, so yeah, it was just as good as like a really good match. It was the length and intensity of a really good match. So
Yep. Ready to move on unless you have anything else to add.
no, I'm ready to move
Because
on.
I know it's got. Okay, so we had a video package for his match later on that night against Copeland, and then we had mocks with Wheeler and Shafir saying that Danielson's neck was also hanging by a thread in reference to Copeland. Then we had the Hurt Syndicate versus Private Party for the tag titles. My God, the Hurt Syndicate were over. And when they won, the reaction was unanimously positive. But I still really feel for Private Party
Yeah,
here. I'm
me
not
too.
gonna lie. It was a hard watch, but it was difficult because I'm like, yeah, like what do you do when the act is that over? Like, yeah, I agree. You should put them on when they're hot and strike the iron when it's hot, especially when the tag division is so it's the weakest division on the
Yeah,
roster at the minute. What do you do? But I still felt really bad for the lads. What can I say?
yeah, yeah. You've summed up what I thought as well. I wrote down new world tag team champions. Suddenly, the tag division feels alive again. That was my initial reaction to that result. But then, like, you think about it and you're like, fucking hell, the Private Party had like two title defenses, less
Yeah,
than
they didn't get
three.
a chance.
Yeah.
They didn't get a chance to get over. They needed,
They sort of were over, like, when they won at
yeah,
first.
but to get over as champions is what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. They just didn't have, like, strong defenses where it felt meaningful to the point where, like, this happened and I was like, as much as I like Private Party and was happy for them when they won, like, this is delightful to me. and I'm glad that this was the result.
Still,
It's a bit of a paradox. Yeah, it was a really good match. It never felt like a squash, but Hurt Syndicate were really dominant. But they never squashed Private Party, and they give them a chance to. I don't think to like
it
really.
felt like a squash to me.
Did it actually?
Yeah, I
I didn't.
felt,
I didn't feel like that.
especially Quen being thrown on the mat outside, launched him into the barricade. The point where he was in the ring and he just threw him into the air. And I get it. I do get it. Like, 'cause their whole thing is strength, and it was the logistics at the start when Hurt Syndicate took the advantage because yeah, they have the size and the power advantage. But to me, they just looked like they were being ragdolled, they were being manhandled, they looked way out of the depths. There wasn't any point in this match where I thought like, oh, Private Party were really cool right now. Not to the level
Mm.
that I thought the offensive Hurt Syndicate did. I felt there was a massive gap in between the two, which again made it more legitimate when they won and made it feel like the right decision.
Mm.
But
I think yeah, that
yeah,
is fair enough. Even though I sort of disagree, I felt maybe that it was a bit more competitive than you, but it's obvious that the Hurt Syndicate are got the size and strength advantage over Private Party. Like that's obvious. I especially loved the announce table spot. I thought that was really good.
yeah, I would say that was great. Especially with
But
MVP being like, put him through. And I just want to say, I love MVP so much. And
yeah, he's adding a lot to this.
yeah, he's adding so much flavour. And I hate this. It's one of my wrestling icks when someone goes on commentary and people are like, oh, I hope when they retire they become a commentator. Or like, oh my God, this person's so good at commentary. And like, they're just all right. But I genuinely do love MVP on commentary. He really makes me laugh. Like he really does it for me. I love him. I think he's so funny. And it's the reaction of the other commentators towards him. Like they just don't know what to do. Especially since they're just three nonchalant dudes. So
Yeah,
someone
chill
like that
guys.
is there just absolutely popping off.
Yeah,
It's
he's very
great.
good. He's very good. He's very funny. Um, he's a great leader as well. Like, I don't know, I just get the impression that he is genuinely intelligent and but he's also a tough guy. He was wrestling last week. That surprised me.
Yeah.
And that was a really good match as well. Um, yeah, Private Party are really good at selling. I will say that. Like, I feel like that's one of the
They're really good at getting
strongest points.
views.
Yeah, they were really good at getting
Oh, yeah.
ragdolled, as you put it. Um, I enjoyed the match and I enjoyed the result.
Matt Briscoe coming out at the end.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
guess.
But yeah, new tag champions, and it is for the betterment of the company and the division as a whole.
Hmm.
But you have to think, I'm interested, and I hope they actually do get a good reign, and it's not just used as decoration because
Yeah,
I'd love to see how the other tag teams step up against the Hurt Syndicate and how they carry themselves and that they at the least have more defenses than what Private Party did.
yeah, yeah. They've got potential to be absolutely brilliant champions. Like you said, as long as it's not just used for decoration and they don't just you know, um, just cart them around for no reason. They're just carrying them um for the sake of carrying them. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be a good reign. And like I said, it's just made me feel more positive about the tag team division, like more positive than I have for a while.
Yeah. So then we had Mariah promo just talking about the match against Tony at Grand Slam, and then we had Tony being interviewed by Renee, just talking about her excitement about the match at Grand Slam. Then we had Harley Cameron coming over, and they were sort of doing some Australian
Australian stuff.
Duolingo. But I thought Tony Storm was from New Zealand.
No, I think she's Australian.
Fair. Fair. And Harley Cameron, she's like, I want to have a match too.
Oh,
I'm Australian.
fuck. Sorry, I just really quickly Googled it and she's Australian. She's a New Zealand Australian professional wrestler according to Wikipedia. So she was born in New
Right.
Zealand, but moved to Australia when she was 4. So
Right,
we're
there you
both
go.
right.
Yeah, but obviously more Australian because I guess like she's grown up there. But yeah, so that kind of set up that little wrinkle of Harley Cameron wanting to have a match. Then we had our favourite, Jeff Jarrett. He's about to come out, and Karen interrupts his interview with Marvez, and she's like, I did not like your actions from last week.
Our other
Uh,
favourite, Karen Jarrett.
the
The power on
real
screen.
star. The power couple. Jeff Jarrett comes out. He's in Knoxville, Tennessee, which we now know is a hometown, his hometown and a state. And he talked about Jerry Lawler and how they'd had a tag match together way back when, and he'd verbally sparred against his opponents. And Jerry Lawler's like, "Don't do that." Why the fuck are we taking advice from Jerry the King Lawler? What an absolute scumbag, piece
Yeah.
of trash. I
Yeah.
hate Jerry Lawler. Like, I've got real heat with Lawler. With the theme of anime, with my wrestling Death Note, his name is way up there. He's like probably my first name. Fuck Jerry Lawler. Just really needs to just say that. What
Yeah,
a scumbag.
yeah, agreed. He's probably not got long left anyway, because let's be honest, he's had about 7 heart attacks already, so. But yeah.
Karma's a bitch. I should have known better. Anyway, he's Jeff Jarrett's 57. Jesus Christ.
Is he? Fucking hell.
That's what he said.
Y-
He was
Oh,
like,
I
I'm
must. I've
57.
obviously zoned out on that part. Yeah, man, and he's
That
still wrestling.
physique.
Yeah,
Claudio comes down after Jarrett calls out Mox. He says he has to go through him first. And this is so funny. He's like walking away. And then Jarrett just gets up like Undertaker style. And he says he's going to have to kill him to stop him. And he says he'll beat Claudio next week for a shot at Mox's title. And Claudio's just not really taken serious. Like, yeah, it'd be funny to
Yeah.
absolutely annihilate you. So, yeah, I think MJF is going to have some kind of interference. That's my
Same.
prediction.
Same. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought as well. I think maybe he'll cost Jeff the match, so he never gets his title shot, and we can continue with that feud. Probably, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, Jarrett versus Castagnoli, match for the ages, made specifically for us.
Timeless classic. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Then we had Swerve versus AR Fox. This felt a bit
Very random.
weird. I mean, yeah, AR Fox came out and what the hell was that brother wearing? I don't know. I didn't get it. It was quite long for what it was, I thought.
Yeah.
Because I thought initially it's just going to be like a squash match, but they did have a match, but it was just kind of nonsensical because it was. I get why those two are together in their alliance that they used to have, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Ricochet comes down. Nana wards him off with a pipe. We had the swerve stomp for the win. And then Ricochet was on the Tron with Nana. He had the scissors to his neck, but he just leaves him. Which, I don't want to see Nana get beat up, but it was just like, couldn't he like pushed him into some boxes or something? It was just,
Yeah,
he was like, I want to leave a message, and then just walked off. I was like, what kind of message is that? It's shit.
Yeah, something, just a little something. We don't actually want to see him get
Little
stabbed,
scratch.
but the way he was wielding those scissors was literally like he had a knife in his hand. It was very extra. This whole thing, like Ricochet at the moment, is just very extra.
Yeah. Speaking of extra, we had a New York minute, still continuing with
Fab.
that old little segment. Jericho was very passive aggressive to Bill. He's not taking on the knowledge. It's so rude. It says Hobbs didn't beat him personally, and he's going to find him on Collision. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I enjoy both of these men, both very underrated. I love it. Big Billy was like, I'm the best in the world. He's like, I'm the best wrestler on the planet. I'm like, hell yeah, you are.
Believe it, baby.
Bill restores the feeling for me. Bill is the feeling.
Um,
Love him.
I mean, I like him. I don't think I like him that much.
No, Big Bill, you need to get on the Big Bill hype shit. He's just I d- it's just the thing is about Bill that I love. It's like when I watched him against Cope the other week, and you knew he was going to lose. But the thing I love about Bill is he makes me believe. Like I just always believe he's going to win, even though he's not gonna.
He
That
turns you
is the
into a mask.
magic.
It's real,
Yeah, that
baby.
is
He's got a
it's
chance.
real. Uh, Yeah, so then we had a really interesting segment. We had MJF coming out, and there was a random jobber in the ring. What the hell? He just shoves him out. You're like, what the hell? It says Jeff Jarrett should apologise to the fans and himself after last week. It says pro wrestling and the fans don't love him anymore. He should have made a deal with the devil instead of defying him. It was a bit of nonsense. It wasn't really consequential, but it's just to remind you that he's still got that vendetta and spinning the plate for what me and you both assume next week will be an interference. But what
Yeah.
was really interesting was Hangman coming out, and it was his match that got interrupted. And MJF backs up, and they don't come to blows or anything, but there was a really nice bit of tension there. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to see this in the future.
Yeah, this was teasing a match in the future, I think. That was very spicy.
It was, wasn't it?
I just want to say as
And
well that
yeah,
only MJF would somehow manage to look hot in those stupid pink glasses, that
oh, I loved him.
scarf, the pink shirt, and the velvet suit combo. Like these factors combined, only
And
he
that
could
spray
pull it
tan.
off. Yeah, the spray tan.
Well,
Yeah.
those glasses were given like Leeds Fest.
Yeah, they
They were
were.
giving like those the cheap sunglasses that you get at like a festival.
Yeah,
I rock with it. Yeah, why not?
I love him.
Love that man.
Enough said.
Uh, Hangman word. Hangman defeats the jobber in less than 10 seconds, practically, and he uses Christopher Daniels' finisher on him. They had a match. Well, he uses that post match. Sorry, after he'd already beat the poor lad. Yeah, they had a match on Collision. It was Chris Daniels' last wrestling match. It was very bloody, very intense, and you could just see, like, even though Hangman is sort of the heel and he has heat with Daniels and kayfabe, the emotion, you could just see how much it meant to Hangman to get that honor to put Christopher Daniels out. But yeah, what an absolute legend. What a guy. He's done so much for the business. And yeah, what can you say? But he comes out and he says the doctors have advised him to never wrestle again, and he's like, Hangman, you've won, because Hangman's very heated as soon as he comes out. He's purposely done this his finisher to provoke him. He wants a reaction and he doesn't get it, and Daniel's like, you've won. He's very defeated. And he says, I'm sorry, and I hope you can be happy. And for a moment, there was like something behind Hangman's eyes, like confusion, like, what is this? This is intimacy, this is human connection. I'm emotionally unavailable. What is this? But for a moment, he sort of pierced through, and then he kind of shoves the camera at his face, like, get away. Like, he's got that toxic masculinity going on. He's not in touch with it, with his emotional side, bless him. But yeah, this was really cool.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool, and I think he has. I think you could sense there's like not regret. Maybe I don't think regret is the right word, but some sort of like
Empathy.
yeah, empathy and like self-reflection. Like shit, I've
Yeah.
ended this man's career, and did I really want to do that? And it's just another chapter to add to his fucked up life story of like just another reason why he's a damaged person, and that adds even more depth to his character. And it's like you can see that he's conflicted in his emotions and he doesn't know how to deal with it. And I think we've said it on the podcast before, and people say it all the time, but what a great actor Hangman Adam Page is. Very rare in wrestling. Like, he's genuinely a very good actor. Like, conveying all these emotions in one simple facial expression. And his
Yeah.
body
He understands
language.
his character, doesn't he? So well.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's like most people, this will probably make them have that moment of self-reflection, but it's probably going to make him worse, and that is the tragedy. Hangman is a Shakespearean tragedy. So we went backstage. Mercedes Moné with her 4 titles. Renee asked what else does she have planned. Says she can't wait to see who's gonna take her on at Australia. And Halle Cameron comes into frame. This has been set up because she wants a match in Australia. She is token Australian, and she has a song singing that she wants to ride the Monet train. And Monet says Hallie's never won a TV match, so no, and walks off. But Halle Cameron is highly entertaining.
Yeah.
She makes me laugh out loud. She's very. I wasn't so sure at first, and we're going like when she first appeared, I was like, I don't know about this, but she's for what for the amount of training in ring as well. What she's had, she's quite green. Like she hasn't like all of her wrestling has been on AW
Mm.
practically. She didn't wrestle before. She was scouted, I think. I can't remember her full story, but yeah, but she's got a real knack for she's an entertainer. She's
Yeah.
very entertaining. She's not afraid to like make herself look stupid. She is the definition of committing to the bit. And she
Yeah.
has completely won me round. I think she can wrestle and she is highly entertaining. She has a personality. She has a character. And yeah, I think in this she came across as really rootable and really likable. And yeah, but what do you think of her?
Yeah, I agree. She's funny and it's really unique. I mean, I loved the song and the I mean, it takes some she's a good singer and she like the whole thing was just very well done. And it's yeah, like I say, it's funny. It's just really unique. And she's standing out and that can be quite hard to do in a women's roster that's so stacked but at the same time so limited because there's such limited time for the women at the same time. So like yeah, I'm definitely rooting for her.
Yeah, she sort of carved out her own little niche, and she's made shit into gold, really. I think because she's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
been handed like it's not like she was given ever like a Camille position where it's like prime
Oh yeah.
time TV. She's been handed like shitty uh storylines with Soraya as being crazy and obsessive, and then
Yeah.
with the Mariah stuff, but she's managed to get herself over. And this is why, again, I might sound harsh sometimes when I'm like, I don't want to see Serena Deeb. I don't. Sorry, yeah, I do agree with Britt Baker. Who cares? I don't want to see Serena Deeb. I don't want to see fucking. Oh, forgot Camille. I don't. I have no interest in these people. They had their minutes, they had their time, and they couldn't get over. When you've got people on your roster like this, and you say it's stacked, but it's limited, and you have people like this who are able to get themselves over with the
Yeah.
crowd with such shit angles
Yeah.
and shit TV time, you have no excuses. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, well,
Half
that's a
true.
mark of a great wrestler, isn't it? When you can get yourself over no matter what you're handed. You can turn it into something of your own and you can let your personality shine through. And she's definitely got that factor to her.
Yep. So then we continued with the women's wrestling. We had Hayter versus Julia Hart. This again, I had a total change of heart with because the first thing I wrote down was clap if you care, because for me, especially Jamie Hayter, we was talking about I don't get the character. I had some connection with her, and then when she came back, I kind of lost it. I was like, I
Mm.
just feel like quite isolated from her. And Julia Hart, like, she's all right, but again, House of Black associations. Just, I'm not really into. I've got ADHD. I need like a bit more pizzazz. Like I need a Harley Cameron. This is just personal taste. Like I need someone with a bit of like not person. That's really because she does have personality, but it's like slow and meandering, and that's not what I'm about. But she's a great wrestler. Same with Jamie here, especially in ring. That's like clap if you care. But by the end of it, I'm excited for the rubber match. I actually yeah, it won me round.
Yeah. And it was simple. It was just really simple. It was a good match. And yeah, Jamie won and she was like, well, we're 1-1. If you when you want number three, you got it. How simple is that? But it really works because you are intrigued, like, because who is going to come out on top and like also can they do something a bit different? Is it maybe going to be I don't know like a stipulation match? perhaps, or are you going to keep it the same? Yeah, it's simple but effective. Here for it.
Yeah, like the match was fine, but it was like you said, that post-match promo that really did it for me because again, it's not what you expect in wrestling, like the Kenny stuff of instantly amnesia. I didn't expect it to be like, especially after they've had this kind of mini blood feud. I don't want to use that term, but they've kind of had some kind of animosity towards each other, and then to be like, do you know what? I respect you. You do your own thing, and just like you said, really simply be like, let's see who's the best. I, d- I don't know. It just, especially in the women's division, maybe in the men's, you might get a showing of respect, but with women's wrestling, when it's kind of booked to be more catty and petty, it was just
That is so
a
true.
refreshing conclusion, and yeah, it just built a bit more intrigue for me.
That is so true because the women's division is, well, not just AEW. WWE is really guilty for it as well. Just like, yeah, like you said, just really catty, bitchy, petty. Oh, you are my friend and now you're not. And it's lacks any sort of real depth. Whereas this, I'm not saying that this had loads of depth, but it's just, it's logical. It makes sense. It's just a nice way to go about it. That, yeah, like you said, the mutual respect. It's something that for some reason you don't often get in the women's division. It just makes it feel more legit.
Yeah. Then we had Hobbs responding to Big Bill. He says he won't be hard to find for him. Swerve says he might catch Ricochet a bit sooner than their match in Atlanta in 2 weeks. Um, then we had the House of Black. And also of note, during that post-match promo, Jamie Hayter says, you have two big men rather than three. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we are Alice. I was like, Jesus Christ, Malachi Black, though he soon will be Alistair Black, so I can start saying that again. The voice has gone silent. We've got no leaders. We've got no masters. And to be honest with you, I think Malachi was the weakest part of them. Like, he was the one that I enjoyed the least out of all of them. So yeah, I'm here for it. I hope that they can do, and they're two dudes. Hurt Syndicate are two dudes. Why don't they go do
How
that? But
convenient.
yeah,
Did you notice on Julia Hart's entrance, um, the lyrics of her song changed from "The House
no.
Always Wins" to "The Heart Always Wins."
Ooh,
So that was a bit of foreshadowing there. Um, yeah, so yeah, this promo just, yeah, Malachi's apparently not a thing anymore. It's quite funny, they were walking like these shadows and they were walking a dog. It's like they've turned Malachi into a dog.
I like that.
And
That bitch.
I don't know if you picked up on this. I thought that video seemed a bit prematurely short. Like it seemed like it was going to continue and then it just ended. I was like, oh, okay. I was expecting a little bit more, just a little bit more hype from that, but fine.
I thought it did what it needed to do, and it was effective. And like for me, when we first did the roster ranking, I was like, I hate House of Black, and then
Yeah,
slowly, I kind of started to like them because they weren't being shoved down my throat. And then now with him gone as well, I feel like, oh, maybe I can actually. Well, I mean, then I can even be called House of Black if they're not with Malachi
yeah,
Black, whatever this little uh, trio is. But yeah, I feel like I'm at a good point to be open-minded for whatever this group does going forward. This faction.
yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, they've been listening to you. They're like, you know what, Estelle's right. Malachi can fuck off. So do we think that he's gone from AEW altogether? Because I know that you mentioned it last week. There's a lot of rumors going around, but there always seems to be rumors with him. But now it seems more solid than ever.
100%, like after they did the two big, and then this video
Mm.
package, it would have been nice if they could have actually sort of done a coup d'etat and usurped him, and he
Mm.
kind of put them over on his way out. But
Would have been cool.
yeah, he's off to the Fed, and
You think?
he's It, well, yeah, he's gonna be back with his girlfriend Selena, or wife even. I think the marriage makes sense. And I mean, I know they were married before, but it's not like it's not like the AEW run was any good, and he's got a really good relationship with Hunter, and like I say, his missus is there. Makes
Valid.
sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it all adds up.
Yep, the Stein maths is a mathing. So let's go to the main event now, Packer versus Cope. This felt like a weird main event because on paper these two together, I don't know, like it doesn't have like the clout for main event, but then you think, oh, I guess Pac is associated with the Death Riders, and Mox is like the main event scene, Death Riders is main event scene, so and Cope wants a shot at his title, and I actually forgot that the trio titles existed until I saw the graphic of Pac holding the belt, and I really hope that the Death Riders just get rid of this belt. I think they should do it like a stunt, like, oh, no one's fighting for this, so we're going to relinquish it. And if by, I don't know, not Revolution, but whichever the next pay per view is, if by Double or Nothing, no one wins the world title, we're not going to relinquish it. That's not what I meant for the trios. I meant destroy it. We're going to destroy the world title, and then that kind of adds stakes for the person
Yeah.
going in, and also it gets rid of the trio belts because they've just really got to go. So I think that would be a best case scenario.
Yeah, like what they did with Rampage as well. Like if they have the ability to shut down a whole show, then why? Yeah, then it would be a really cool story point to be like they're destroying AEW from within. They're taking away everything we love. They took away this and they took away that, and now they're going to take away the World Championship belt. Oh my God, that would be really awesome.
Yeah, like they're losing the privileges.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, this match was more fun than what I thought it was going to be. I don't know why, like just going in, just I just didn't have like this big match feel. I don't know if that's just me. I wasn't like, oh, I'm hyped for this one, but I was pleasantly
I'm going to say I
surprised.
was quite hyped, to be fair.
Fair. Cope, he was one move ahead in the technical sequence to begin, and he was just not missing a beat. Mans has been grinding out in the Bret Hart dungeon with his tequila dads alliance. And Pac face first into the steel steps. I thought it was interesting that Cope was more so the aggressor in this match. I understand that he's got hunger for the world title and for justice, but Pac is quite perverted. And I just like sick and twisted.
Mm,
So I was surprised that they went with him as the aggressor,
mm.
but not in like a bad way.
Yeah, that's a valid observation, actually. That is quite surprising when, yeah, Pac is a very violent individual. Um, but I think I kind of used to calling him Cope. It's just not right. I don't. Cope is also, I think, had this like violent streak since he's been in AEW, and also having just come back, he's gonna be hungry as well. So
He better not be getting any ideas watching them do that stunt off that scaffolding.
yeah,
He's lost.
no.
Talk about privileges. He's lost his privileges for life from climbing up things and jumping off them.
Yeah, he's lost his Spider-Man privileges.
Yeah. But it was the cutter for the win. Copeland picking, and again, I was surprised that the actual match itself was clean because I was expecting an
Yeah,
interference. I knew there would be at some point in that came post match, but I thought that that would have been a conclusion to the match. But I thought it was nice that they just had a wrestling match.
yeah, that was nice surprise. I think that's maybe a bit of criticism from people and why they maybe don't like the Death Rider story because they're sick of finishes that are not clean. Which I don't personally agree with, but I can see why people might think that. So I guess that this was maybe a response to that, or just kind of trying to mix it up a bit.
Yep. So then go to the back, and FTR are getting fucked up with the Rock and Roll Express. And then who comes out to save Copeland but Jay White? I was like, the whole show I was thinking, do you know what would make this better? I ain't seen Jay White. I've seen everyone else. I'm having a cracking tap, but I just love to see Jay White. Like, why has he been forgotten about? And then he came out and I was like, woo, like I proper popped. But he was about to do the Blade Runner, but Yuta yet again was able to interfere. I was like, fuck off, Yuta, with the low blow. And they were both beaten down, and Excalibur perfectly surmised it with the poetic line, Moxley has just delivered a sermon on violence, and we were left with the finishing shot of Cope twitching, looking dejected, and again, this whole show to me felt very cathartic. It felt like the start was great, especially because the Death Riders. It's like they've kind of torn away that that good feeling, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. I think it's a good thing because it makes it count for more. And then for the end, for them to just do that, it left it on a down note, but in a good way, because you're like, oh fuck, like the bad guys are still going.
Yeah.
We've still not won the war.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like just the tone and the mood I got.
Yeah, it does make sense. It keeps you like anticipating next week, and you just
Yeah.
want to see them get their comeuppance, and you don't get the satisfaction. You get the satisfaction of
Yeah.
Cope
Absolutely.
winning, but then you don't get the satisfaction of them being beat up or anything. So they're still looking strong, which for people like us who are enjoying this storyline, that's great. Um, and I thought this was really good. I love them looking dominant. I love them beating people up. Maybe I'm in the minority with that. I don't know. I'm sensing a lot of negativity online to this storyline and the Death Riders in general. But I really like them, and I just say like just let them kill everyone, burn it down to the
Yeah,
ground and build it up again.
it's for the betterment of everything else, and how cathartic is that win gonna feel
Yeah.
when whoever dethrones Moxley, I don't know when Eddie Kingston's coming back. I'd love to see him get involved in the
Yeah.
storyline. I know a month ago he was still working hard, rehabbing, but and his beef with Claudia, I know they kind of squashed it, but that it would be great. I would love to see that. But yeah, it's about that long term mentality
Yeah.
and not being iPad kids and expecting instant gratification, you dopamine chasers. Sometimes you need to learn a bit of patience. You need to learn, you know, sometimes it's for the betterment, like I say, and how how people can denounce the Death Rider storyline when look at how good AEW is, look at how good it's been at the start of this year, and that's a
Yeah.
knock-on effect from the
Yeah, for
Death
sure.
Riders on everything. Even if you look at Kenny and Ospreay, the whole reason they're fighting the Callis families, they have to kind of overcome that hurdle to get to the Death Riders.
Yeah,
Jeff
that's so
Jarrett,
cool.
why is he doing it? His justice. It's he needs he's hunting for justice because the Death Riders. If you had a babyface champion and good time feeling, you wouldn't get all these hungry baby faces in the various storylines. You
Hmm.
need it.
Yeah.
Wrestling needs bad guys. Like that's the concept. I don't understand. Oh no, the
Yeah.
bad guys are beating people up. Oh no, it's so slow and I don't like the bad guys. That's the fucking point, dude. That's
You're not supposed
wrestling,
to like them.
bro.
You're not supposed to like
Yeah.
them. Yeah, the pearl clutching. I'm just like, just come on.
You're supposed to want to see them get beaten up.
Yeah. And you make such a good point. They are like the catalyst for so many good stories in AEW right now.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We needed something really meaty that you can build a lot of different things off. That, there's this core thing in the middle that we're leading back to eventually, that we're branching off from. That's the hallmark of a really good story, I think. So yeah. But we'll say though, why did Jay White come out to rescue Cope? Like, I don't really get it. Does that make sense?
Joe White, man, he just don't like the Death Riders. He's not forgotten that four way
Yeah,
at
yeah,
World's
yeah.
End.
That
And
makes
also
sense.
we need to keep Jay White in the world title picture. Let's not complain about that.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
keep
not
him
at all.
coming.
Well, do
But
you think
yeah, I
we might get Jay White versus Moxley in Australia?
it's from New Zealand though.
Yeah, but like, the same way they'd have like Gunther in the UK or Sheamus even in England. He's not bloody English, he's Irish. Sorry, that might be offensive. I don't know if that's offensive, sorry. I'm not
That's not
familiar with that with
offensive.
the geopolitics of Australia and New Zealand, but it's that part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, who knows? But
That'll bang.
yeah, But I'm not saying like the Death Riders thing is perfect. This isn't
Yeah, of
toxic
course, it's not perfect.
positivity. My biggest criticism is I'd love to see Marina Shafir do stuff in the women's division. I think that's the
Oh my
biggest
God.
crime of all of it, and the biggest thing I find offensive. We kind of had it with Willow for a little bit, and then we pulled the plug on that. So I don't really understand what's going on there. Whether he's just got too much going on, as we said, there's limited spots in the women's division, so we can't be having that. That would be my guess, but yeah, overall, I do think it's a good storyline.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna get hot about Willow because I could easily get hot about that situation because that would have been a brilliant match. But yeah, to focus on the positives, I'm enjoying the storyline. I'm enjoying where it's going.
You still have people who be like, "Where's Wardlow?" Oh my god, that's like the biggest meme for me. Anything could be good. Where's what? Get a grip. Get a grip. Um. So anyway, rating. I want to go for 9 out of 10. I had a pleasurable experience. I had a lot of fun. One of my favorite Dynamites of this year. I still don't think like there was like a wrestling match that like I did enjoy certain parts of wrestling, but there wasn't like that 5 star, 4 star match, which kind of brings it down a little bit. But yeah, I'd be happy with like a 9. I know that seems quite high, but yeah, it's just how I'm feeling.
I mean, I initially agree with 9 when you said it, but then you kind of talked me down a little bit when you said about like the wrestling. Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn between like 8.5 and 9 just because of like the lack of a really epic wrestling match.
Okay, but the start, which was really epic,
Yeah.
that spot where they did the whatever the hell they did. Sorry, I didn't catch the move name. Fake fan poser. Off the scaffolding. The amount of like I said, every feud is popping. Ricochet versus Swerve. Jeff Jarrett versus well the Death Riders, but also MJF. Um I can't think. My brain's going numb. But so much good storytelling, even stories that are brewing in the distance, like the fact that the intersections of MJF and Hangman interacting, um, and just all the build and the excitement for Grand Slam, which I wasn't initially that looking forward to, and characters, even like House of Black or whatever the hell they're called, like them being able to be rebuilt. I just feel like everyone on this show has direction. We also had the Hurt Syndicate winning the tag titles.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was a great show.
Let's go with a 9 then. There's a
It
lot of
always
positive.
feels weird giving stuff a high score, but you've got to think, when will you?
Yeah, you got to think like
We're not giving it a 10. A 10,
yeah.
a 10 would have been if I had a good wrestling match. A really good wrestling match.
Yeah, you got to think like what's the benchmark? Like what could be better than this? You like to put it into context and yeah, that you know, it's got to the integrity of our rating system is important. So yeah, I'm happy to go with a 9.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad we agreed. So, just want to run down 2 things. The first thing is Ricky Starks has been removed from the AEW merch store, so he is also, as we've already known, with the whole GCW drama and everything else been going
Oh
on,
God, yeah.
he's 1000% out of the door. I'm sure that all the people are gonna suddenly become Ricky Starks and Malachi Black mega fans as soon as they debut in the Fed, just as they did with I'm trying to think, Ethan Page, but not even Ethan Page. There's someone else I'm thinking. Penta. So, oh my god! Suddenly, everyone in the Fed is a Lucha Bros fan. Well, that means you've been watching AEW
And
for the past 5 years,
and Brian
and
Pillman
I know you can
as
be
well.
like, yeah, I know you can be like, oh, I watched him before. I'm familiar with their other global wrestling, but come on, come
Yeah,
on. If
it's
you were hyped for them to debut,
yeah.
like you watch the dub. I know you
That
do.
is so ironic and so telling when when people are like, oh yes, this person's getting the treatment they deserve. Finally, they're gonna get in the spotlight now.
How do
And
you know that?
yeah, exactly. How do you know they were
How
gonna
do you know
like?
that? How do
If
you know
you
they were
hate
trash?
AEW so much, interesting that you know a lot about this wrestler who's only been wrestling in AEW for the past however many years. Like, hmm,
Yeah, and the
suspicious.
Lucha Bros have been like day one as well since like 2019. So
Yeah.
like come to 6 years now. But yeah, if you don't like that opinion, you're probably not going to like my next opinion because yeah, I am going to talk about Britt Baker. So 3 days ago, PW Torch put out a quote about Britt Baker, and she's wildly unpopular in the women's locker room. She's always had a reputation. It's nothing to do with the Adam Cole situation. This is in regards to her not being on screen. One person said no one ever wants to see her come back. All right. Speaking of the women's locker room, she might be done with AEW. At least the feeling I'm getting talking to people in AEW. Tony Khan might have her in the same category as some other wrestlers, i.e., I'm guessing from this Ricky Starks, where they just don't get phone calls and don't get called in to show up. There is a lot of frustration with her. Um, Yada yada. There was the incident with her and MGF, and I'm told that factors into her being off television. But there are other issues with her that have come up. She's becoming increasingly difficult to work with in general sense. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and then just the Adam Cole thing has nothing to do with it. So very dramatic. Like she is done based on. I just know these people, like, they have one source, probably like one source of
On
some,
shit
like,
on.
D-list tier talent. It's not like this person is hitting up Tony Khan directly with all the dirt sheets. And people latched onto this like it was gospel. And I just love the, what do I put, the selective inferences that people gather from dirt sheets. It is literally like cherry picking from the Bible as to what people want to believe
Yeah.
on what day, as to whether this aligns about my predetermined opinion of this person, of which you don't know. You
Yeah.
don't know anything about it. Like, what are you even on about? And my big thing, right, is what we do know, the facts, right? The facts. Yeah, she has an ego, but she's not been like malicious to anyone. And if it was a man in this position, no one would be saying shit. People would actually be patting him on the back for
So
having the
true.
balls to stick up for themselves. And the fact that this episode of Dynamite, Jerry Lawler's getting shouted out, and I bet you there'll be more outrage about Britt Baker for things she's hypothetically done, just like the Young Bucks, rather than shit like that. Or there's so much other shit you could be outraged about. Like, I can't. I actually can't. But you choose to latch on to this one person. She put out a tweet. I understand we as performers are expected to have thick skin through opinions and lies we read about ourselves, but spreading lies about my personal life is just low, weird, and something I won't tolerate. I've never cheated on anyone in my
Yeah.
life. Hashtag tell your source. So obviously, in the
Yeah.
PW Torch report, they did claim that had nothing to do with Adam Cole, but people ran with it, and this is the extent. It's totally okay for you to not like her as a performer, to not like her as a wrestler, think she's overrated. It's your opinion, fair enough. But to go around and just spread absolute shit about someone, and then I tell you why Britt Baker doesn't have clout. I tell you why Britt Baker doesn't have reputation, because you people have ran it into the ground. You have made up a narrative about this person. You don't want to like her, so you're not going to like her, and that's what pisses me off. It's like the negative feedback loops, the positive feedback loop. People get into these cycles about people
Mm.
and this retort, and people are like, oh, she's dead, she's over, she's over, she'll never get over with the crowd again. But it's like the crowd turned on her before. Like, that's kind of
Yeah.
my feeling on it. And just, yeah, man, the whole thing just pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. Rumors spark way out of proportion. So yeah, like you say, it's been a really someone and a really irrelevant source has come out with this. People have believed it and blown it way out of proportion than what the original report even said. So, you people are now making up the fact that she's apparently cheated on Adam Cole, which isn't true, and she's had to speak out and say, "Listen, you can't. That is not true," and she's not going to stand for lies like that. I mean, things like that make it feel like it's steeped in misogyny, which I think it is, because I think you make a really good point that if it was a male behaving in a similar way, then we'd have none of this. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be drama. It just wouldn't. Apparently, Dave Meltzer has sort of looked into this since the original report, and he sort of said
Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer on case, lads.
he said there's a kernel of truth to some of it, but it got blown way out of proportion. So, there's some people don't like her, some people do like her, but no one really knows why she's not around at the moment. She's not leaving the company. It's all a bit ambiguous. So how would you go from that to people blowing up and just this whole situation? It's ridiculous.
Why are people not outraged about Jack Perry not being on TV? There's loads of people out on TV. Yeah, and I agree. I'm not saying like, oh, there's no truth to it. Yeah, I agree. She's garnered a reputation, but in my opinion, she stuck up for herself. Like, yeah, the MGF thing, is it good? No. But I understand her frustration when she's been there since day one and she barely gets any screen time. The women in general, she wasn't just talking about her. The women don't get enough screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she don't go about things the best way. But I tell you who else don't go about things the best way. CM Punk. But CM Punk is sung the praises of.
Yeah.
CM Punk physically attacked someone. But he's sung, and I'm a CM Punk fan, right? I'm just pointing out your hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I tell you who else doing, like, he's much like Britt Baker, and I like them both very much. In the ring, promo, but it's two different things and it's two different worlds, and one person's allowed to do that and the other person isn't. And I bet like the person they asked is probably like Serena Deeb, who's salty, or like Thunder Rosa, like you say. And then what that person's done in that report is they very cleverly put truth in. They've put the MGF thing in. They've put that she's off TV, and they've put these dots all next to each other so people form a narrative.
Yeah.
And if I was a journalist, right, a wrestling journalist, if that's what you want to call these people, I know that wrestling fans don't have nuance. So if I say these things, I'm creating a narrative, because people will just draw. They'll connect everything. And it's just, they won't take these incidents separately. It's like, oh, there's this, oh, she had a match at All In and it wasn't received very well, and there's probably not a lot of creative for her right now, and the women's division is stacked. That's one thing. There's the MGF thing. That's one thing. There's this other thing. And I get that, like, you can form the narrative of, yeah, maybe she's not well liked, or maybe she's not the easiest to work with, but it's like you said, people just run with things, and people are obsessed with hating this woman. Like, honestly, people are just obsessed. And for me, like, the more, especially a woman, is witch hunted, unless it's within like reason, obviously like Tessa Blanchard, what a piece of shit, unless someone has done something legitimately hateful and discriminatory, then I'm not going to stand for that. But when people come for one woman in particular, something about that, it's like, nah, like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, for an industry that's very masculine and sexist, it is so gossipy. Like, so gossipy and so, like, toxic, more so than any other fandom I think I've ever been in. Like, this fandom is obsessed with spreading rumours and believing rumours, and, like, the lack of media literacy is crazy. It's like, how do you just believe, how can you just believe something that someone puts out? They don't name their source, they just put it out there on an article, on a podcast, and you just believe it. I always take these things with a pinch of salt. I don't care who it comes from. I will rarely ever believe something until it's been, 100% confirmed. And I don't know why people choose to have such a black and white attitude to these things.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like the books thing as well, with Brawl Out Brawling, when
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of stuff together and people just draw like the craziest of conclusions, and it's like you don't know these people.
Yeah.
Just,
The
and I know
people
you say,
backstage
like,
are laughing at you because you're hilariously so off the mark.
but I think for this though, like, I genuinely do feel bad for her, because, like, yeah, she says she's got tough skin and stuff, but it must hurt. It must really hurt when, like, you've given everything to, like, a company since, like, day one, and been for the fans, and the fans turn on you so vehemently.
No apparent reason.
Especially when you've just come back from injury. Like, I think she's so strong. I mean, maybe she's not. If I was her, I'd be crying myself to sleep. Honestly, I'd be really fucked up from this. So I just hope she's like taking care of herself and stuff, because she is a queen. And she's my queen. She's my
I hope
icon.
she's doing right. Yeah, I hope she's all right, because it's tough. It's tough when, as a wrestler in general, you're constantly under scrutiny, and I feel like women wrestlers have an extra layer to that. And I'm not saying that male wrestlers don't have it hard, because they do, but there's an extra layer on top of it. So who knows? None of us know. That's the moral of the story. None of us really know what's going on.
I feel like with women wrestlers, it's like you've got less protection.
Yeah.
Like with men, wrestling is the king of controversy. And look at the Vince McMahon documentary and how many controversies there are, and we just shrug them off. We're so desensitized to him. But I feel like with women, look at China and the way she was treated. God. And look at Sean Waltman / X-Pac and how he was treated. We can go for days about the hypocrisy of pro wrestling and genders and reputations. And women's reputations are more fragile than men's. And people's words can do far more damage than that to a man's career.
Yeah.
That's not just exclusive to wrestling, it's exclusive to anything, but especially people with powerful careers, pop culture, women, singers, actors, whatever. It's a real thing. And I'm not saying don't call out people's shitty behaviour or people can't have an opinion or anything like that, but it's something to definitely be aware of, that women do have it harder. And if that's difficult to hear, I don't really give a shit. That's the reality. So
get over it.
Get over it. Exactly. So hit to end on that note. Obviously, 9 out of 10 show, lads. Same time next week. But yeah, that's just where am I to speak on that? Obviously, so yeah.
Of course, yeah, we've got to speak up. Also, sorry, off topic, but well, not off topic, but you mentioned China, and I feel like we could do a whole podcast episode on her.
For sure.
But definitely subscribe if you haven't already to see if we do that.
Sorry about China. This is pisses me off, man. Especially with China, and what I always talk about is people look back and they're like, "Oh, she was the best, China. She was so good." Well, where were you when she was going through a tough time? Where were you when it was popular to dunk on her? And this is why, for me, it's so important to, like, I go against the grain. I say what I believe and I say what I think. Because I know you people in 10, 15 years are going to be changing narrative. And you'll be saying you were there for these people that you weren't. Or, like, want this person great. So I've got the receipts, I remember. And it's that is another form of hypocrisy that just really irritates me, when people just move with whatever the popular opinion is at the time, and then suddenly they've got Survivor Series amnesia and they're like, always loved this wrestler, me.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Integrity is very important to us here at the Too Sweet Podcast. Clearly.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to hear more of us putting the world to rights, then please do subscribe. Or follow if you listen on Spotify. Because we do get into topics like this. Sometimes we do a monthly special, if you don't know, where we do deep dive into things that that we think are interesting or important. So definitely please do stick around if you're interested in hearing us talk more about wrestling. Thank you so much for listening / watching this week, and we'll see you next week.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bang!
I wish you died in the womb!